Have you ever sat in silence, staring at the ceiling, asking, why did this happen to me? No answer, no closure, just confusion wrapped in pain. That's the weight of living when life makes no sense. You try to be strong, but inside you're unraveling, quietly, slowly. And worst of all, no one sees the heavy load you carry. Here's the hard truth. Life doesn't owe you an explanation. Not every storm comes with a reason. And the Stoics knew that better than anyone. They believed this: suffering without meaning is weakness, but suffering embraced with clarity becomes strength. In this video, you'll learn how to turn confusion into control. You'll discover a simple Stoic practice to focus on what you can control, like Marcus Aurelius did in Chaos. You'll find daily steps to respond with power, even when pain makes no sense. This isn't about motivation, it's about mastery. You're not alone. We all carry invisible wounds. But today, you'll learn to carry them with quiet strength, like a man who walks through fire and doesn't flinch. Ready to think like a Stoic, feel less lost, and rebuild from within? Stay with me, like this video, subscribe for more, and share it with a brother who needs it, because sometimes silence speaks, but Stoic action changes everything. 1. There isn't always a why. Sometimes the pain doesn't come from what happened, it comes from the silence that follows. You sit alone trying to make sense of something that tore through your life without warning, and the question rises again and again, why? But nothing answers back. No logic, no justice, just quiet. Most people get stuck here. They believe that understanding will bring them peace, that if they could just figure out the reason, the wound would close. But what if the real peace comes from letting go of that question altogether? Stoicism teaches that life isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's a path to be walked with clarity and strength, even when the terrain makes no sense. Epictetus said we're not disturbed by events themselves, but by the opinions we form about them. And most of us form the opinion that we must know why. That belief alone makes us suffer more than we need to. Imagine a man who loses his job after 20 years of loyalty. He sits on the porch, watching the sunrise, asking himself what he did wrong. But no answer comes. The Stoic doesn't waste time waiting for life to explain. He shifts the question. He doesn't ask, why did this happen? He asks, what now belongs to me? His posture changes, his energy follows. He rises with quiet mental resilience, not because he understands the chaos, but because he's chosen not to be controlled by it. You don't need closure to take the next step. You need control over your response. Next time confusion hits, try this. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Pause and ask yourself, what part of this is within my control? That single shift in perspective won't solve everything, but it will give you back your footing. And sometimes that's all you need to keep walking. 2. Lack of understanding doesn't mean lack of meaning. You can go through something that breaks you and still never fully grasp why it happened. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. The mind craves resolution, a neat explanation to tuck the pain into a box and move on. But life doesn't always hand you clarity on demand. And sometimes the most dangerous lie we believe is that if we don't understand it, it must be meaningless. That's when the spiral begins. Resentment, regret, even shame for still carrying something you can't explain. The Stoics didn't equate confusion with failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the quiet hours of his war tent, surrounded by suffering he couldn't control, and still found peace in one thought: the universe's change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Meaning isn't found in decoding the event. It's forged in how you live afterward. You're not meant to figure everything out. You're meant to respond with clarity when nothing makes sense. Men often carry grief they've never spoken about. The loss of a father, a job, a brother, a sense of identity, and they bury it, thinking it has no meaning because they never understood it. But Stoicism doesn't ask you to solve the past. It asks you to walk forward with integrity anyway. That's where dignity lives. Not in knowing the whole truth, but in standing firm despite the unknown. So the next time your mind says, I still don't get it, don't answer with more analysis. Answer with action. Keep your posture straight, keep your habits disciplined, and meet the moment as a man who doesn't need full understanding to show up with full strength. Say to yourself, this too belongs to the order of life. I will meet it with calm. That one line can carry you through storms explanation will never reach. 3. Your response is your final power. There's a moment between what hits you and what you do next. A breath, a blink, a choice. And in that space, however brief, your real power lives. The Stoics knew this. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You don't control what life throws at you, but you control your response, and that response builds or breaks the man you are becoming. Let's be honest. Most men react. They explode, shut down, or reach for the nearest escape, especially when pain catches them off guard. Maybe it's a phone call at midnight. Maybe it's a betrayal that cuts deeper than expected. Maybe it's just one too many days of silence when all you wanted was direction. The automatic reflex is to ask, why me? Then comes frustration, blame, or shame. But all of that is noise, and noise weakens you. Stoicism isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about standing firm when you're not. It's about refusing to let circumstances hijack your character. Your response is the last thing life can't take unless you hand it over. That's where your emotional self-mastery begins, not with control over the world, but with clarity over your next move. And that move can be simple. Choose not to lash out. Choose not to spiral. Choose not to explain yourself to people who thrive on your weakness. So when life shakes you, stop and breathe. Ask yourself, what part of this can I face with strength? Not perfection, not answers, just strength. Maybe that means walking away from a toxic conversation. Maybe it means taking the walk, lifting the weight, and keeping the promise. Whatever it is, do it with quiet power. Let your reaction reflect the man you're building, not the storm you're in. Because long after the moment has passed, the way you responded will still speak. And if it speaks with calm resolve, you've already won. 4. Suffering is not to be wasted. Pain isn't always loud. Sometimes it walks in quietly and stays longer than expected. It sits with you in traffic. It wakes up with you before the alarm. It follows you into meetings, into conversations, into memories you thought you'd buried. Most men try to outrun it. Some drink it down. Others harden into silence. But Stoicism doesn't avoid suffering. It confronts it and extracts something from it. As Seneca wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. If you must suffer, let it build something in you. Otherwise, what's the point? Not all wounds come with wisdom automatically. Some just become walls. The danger isn't in the pain, it's in wasting it. It's going through hell and learning nothing. You may be hurting now. You may be carrying a weight nobody sees. But that doesn't mean there's no value in it. What matters is what you do with it. In the Stoic mindset, every hardship is raw material, fuel to forge endurance, humility, self-discipline. You don't get to choose the fire, but you get to choose how you walk through it. Think about the last time you felt defeated. Not just inconvenienced, but cracked open. Maybe it was a loss, a betrayal, a season that dragged longer than it should have. If you didn't come out of that with something stronger inside you, the pain served no purpose. But if you stood back up, slower maybe, but steadier, then you've already won something most men never do. That's the Stoic way, using suffering as a forge, not a finish line. So the next time it hurts, pause. Ask, what is this pain asking me to build? Is it patience, focus, boundaries, self-respect? Don't let the moment pass without extracting its weight, because the world isn't watching how much it broke you. It's watching what you'll do with what's left. 5. Steadiness in uncertainty. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Not because you've given up, but because you've chosen to be still when life demands panic. There are seasons when everything feels out of sync. The job shifts, someone leaves, plans fall apart. You wake up with that quiet unease in your chest, the kind that doesn't have a name but weighs the whole day down. In those moments, most men feel pressure to fix, to figure it all out. But the Stoic doesn't rush to fill the silence. He holds it. And in that stillness, he finds clarity. Uncertainty doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're in motion. You're not lost. You're just between two known points. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." That's the inner refuge the Stoic builds. Not escape, but presence. While others spin in noise, he stays grounded in the simple rhythm of breath, posture, and principle. The mistake many men make is assuming they need to know before they act. But in reality, clarity comes from action, not before it. You don't wait for certainty to return. You build it, one steady decision at a time. That might mean going for a walk instead of arguing, turning off the news instead of spiraling, saying less when emotions rise. Stoic calm isn't weakness, it's discipline under pressure. So when the road ahead looks blurry, don't rush, don't flinch. Write down one thing you do know, what kind of man you want to be in the chaos. Let that become your compass. When you walk without knowing the full path, but stay true to your internal direction, that's not indecision, that's wisdom in motion. And some days, that is the clearest strength a man can carry. 6. Turn why into what now. A moment arrives when asking why no longer moves anything forward. Not your situation, not your mindset, not your life. The question itself becomes a loop, circling pain without purpose, and every time it echoes, it takes a little more of your energy. The Stoic sees this pattern for what it is, a trap disguised as reflection. In reality, most men already know that they won't get an answer. What they need is a direction, not why did this happen, but what now? That shift changes everything. The mind clings to understanding as if it guarantees closure. But even with answers, healing doesn't always come. Sometimes knowing why doesn't soften the impact, it just reopens the wound. That's why Stoicism teaches movement over meaning, clarity through action, not through overthinking. Cleanthes wrote, "Lead me, Zeus and destiny. If I choose not to follow, I shall follow nonetheless." That's not weakness. That's surrendering the illusion of control while reclaiming the right to act with strength. Many men stall at the edge of adversity, waiting for the right time to feel ready, to feel clear, to feel justified. But that wait becomes a delay, and that delay becomes decay. Stoicism demands something different. It says, lead yourself. Take the step before you understand the map. Do the thing you know you can do right now, even if it feels small. Especially when it feels small. In the aftermath of disappointment, rejection, betrayal, any break that shifts your course, don't freeze. Pause, yes. But then ask one thing. What does this moment demand of the best version of me? Not the perfect version, not the healed one. Just the version that shows up with quiet confidence and clear discipline. When the world won't explain itself, act in a way that needs no explanation. Let your actions become your answer. Let stillness carry strength. Let your steps speak what words no longer can. When life stops making sense, you don't need louder answers. You need quieter strength. You've now seen how the Stoics approached confusion, not with panic, but with calm resolve. Not with questions, but with alignment. Instead of demanding clarity from the chaos, they focused on what they could carry within. Emotional self-control, mental strength, and the power to act without waiting for perfect circumstances. You may never fully understand why some things happened the way they did, but you can still decide what kind of man you'll be because of them. And that choice, your response, that's where mastery begins. Pain doesn't get the final word unless you let it. Confusion doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're being shaped. Strength doesn't come from control. It comes from consistency, from discipline, from how you carry yourself when no one's watching and nothing is certain. Every day you have a chance to train this mindset. You don't need to do it all at once. Start small. Start in silence. Ask yourself each morning, what is mine to control today? And end each night with, did I respond with strength or reaction? Let that habit sharpen you over time. So now, it's your turn. Don't wait for life to explain itself. Show life who you've decided to be, regardless. Train yourself to respond with calm energy, quiet certainty, and a sense of deep inner balance. That's how a Stoic endures. That's how a Stoic leads, from within. And if this message speaks to something you've lived through, share your story in the comments below. What helped you stay grounded? What part of the Stoic mindset are you building today? Your experience may be the mirror someone else needs to steady themselves too.